What up, everybody? Welcome to the chaos. My name is Brad. The stock market is crazy and chaotic, and I made it my mission to help you guys own it. It is a very important day. We got Microsoft earnings coming up. Are you curious about what Microsoft has in store for us? Well, I'm going to let you know what the expectations are and what investors are looking for in today's stream. Before we get into anything, I just want to shout out some of my early comers here. That pause. What's up, Jeff Chow? Hey, Froggy, good to see you, my man. Some familiar faces. Housekeeping. What's up, brother? As I'd mentioned, we had Microsoft. Really isn't anything else. Texas Instruments also is reporting here after hours. Tomorrow's going to be a big day too, so make sure you're subscribed. Hit that notification bell. Hopefully, YouTube will start notifying people again that we are here. As Tesla is going to be reporting earnings, I'm going to be putting out a video this afternoon after the stream is over on Tesla and expectations for that as well. I see you, Snookeroo. What's up, Christopher? How's it going, Fernando? Good to see everybody. And so, yeah, we're going to be covering Microsoft's earnings. So with a forward price of 25 times next year's earnings and estimated earnings per share today of around $2.28 and a track record of 26 consecutive quarters of revenue, this report is certainly going to be one to watch for. The recent layoffs, however, and multi-billion-dollar investment into OpenAI, with those two things, what are we looking for as far as Microsoft is concerned? Analysts are expecting only a 3% year-over-year growth for the quarter, which will be the slowest since 2016. And I put a poll here for you guys, and be sure to check that out. Would like to get your guys' thoughts on this. Is Microsoft going to impact how investors and sentiment is going to be viewed for the duration of earnings season? Obviously, we have a lot more to go. Apple, Amazon, Meta, Alphabet, aka Google, is going to be reporting next week, I believe. So we're going to be keeping an eye on those. Are those stocks going to be impacted based off of Microsoft? Now, Microsoft, I think, has set the bar pretty low. They've kind of set expectations that this isn't going to be a great quarter. We heard from them earlier in the week last week, I should say, that they laid off around 10,000 employees. That certainly could mean that we're going to see some signs of potential revenue a slowing of revenue for the quarter. So there's going to be some important things to watch for. Last earnings report, Microsoft beat expectations of $2.35, which beat those. They came in at $2.35, beating expectations by 6 cents. And let's not forget about the revenue as well. They actually smashed revenue last time. That's why I'm thinking that perhaps the bar is set pretty low. But again, we'll see. Last time they beat expectations by $435 million. Microsoft has also been on a pretty decent roll with their cloud-based services. Obviously, Azure, if you guys haven't heard of that, it's very much competing with AWS and doing pretty well at it. Despite the impressive track record we've had from Microsoft and beating expectations, it's probably not going to be enough. As I mentioned, they have laid off 10,000 employees. This is costing them around $1.3 billion. When you take it into account that they're going to be laying people off, they're also providing severances for these people all the way out till, I believe, March. So that's going to be a huge incurred cost. Obviously, we'll see what the impact of the business is going to be going into this quarter, and maybe they're going to be, and they will be reporting on the current quarter that we're in. Despite the layoffs, Nadella, the CEO, assured Microsoft will continue to invest in key areas, including AI. As you guys might have seen the short that I put out yesterday, they're putting $10 billion into OpenAI, ChatGPT. If you guys haven't checked that out, it is an amazing tool that now Microsoft is diving deeper into. And so, again, 26 consecutive quarters that we've seen from Microsoft. Are they going to be this time around? I don't think it'll be much of a shock if they do. Again, it's going to be the guidance. What are we going to see from Microsoft moving forward? What are we seeing in this current quarter? And that's going to be obviously certainly pivotal for not just Microsoft, but also everyone else in the big tech space. Let's take a look at the chart real quick. This is your 1 minute chart, I think. Let me just confirm that. It is, yes. The 1 minute chart. I have it on the 1 minute chart just so we can see in real time what Microsoft is doing. I'm starting to see a little bit of a push going into the end of the day. But I wanted to point out the weekly chart here too, because this is important. Microsoft has been on an obvious downtrend, right? This red line here is representative of the 200-week moving average. And honestly, it's been holding up quite well. There is going to be an interesting crossroads here. So this green line here that you guys are seeing on the screen is the 50-week moving average, the 50 MA line, and this is the 200 MA line. You're seeing the 50-week MA line potentially going to be crossing um, each other, and that could spell more bearish news for Microsoft if that trend continues. But what I'm encouraged by is that it's been holding, and you could almost make an argument that we're seeing a double bottom out of Microsoft, uh, with it holding well above that 200-day moving average. I really like that it's held that support, if I'm honest, and we'll just kind of see where this goes. I there's a lot of bearishness, a lot of people being, I guess, pessimistic about Microsoft. But again, they've kind of shown their hand, so to speak, in that they've set the bar pretty low. Typically, when you see a lot of bearishness in the markets, of course, you're going to think about maybe taking the contrarian approach. I'm not sure that it's going to be either one. I think that Microsoft is going to, the earnings are going to come out, and I don't think we're going to see too many surprises. But we never know. Microsoft and the earnings in general can have a lot of surprises hiding in those reports, and we'll just see how the market responds. What I will say though is that with the valuation of Microsoft coming back down, as I'd mentioned earlier in the top of the show, 25 times next year's earnings, this to me, I think, has come down to a reasonable level, and they're still growing nevertheless. 3% growth in revenue for a quote unquote growth stock obviously isn't all that great as far as year over year is concerned, and as I'd mentioned, hasn't been that low since 2016. If they come in and meet expectations and they don't give any surprises, I think Microsoft's going to be just fine. Keep in mind as well, during this latest rally that we've seen in tech, we've seen Netflix continue to just rip up after their earnings, and we've seen some pretty decent moves from Meta and Alphabet. I think you look at Microsoft, and it's been the worst performer out of all of them. I think just because of the sentiment that and the picture that it's been painted here by Microsoft themselves, and we'll just kind of see what happens. So as I mentioned, this is your 1 minute chart, and to reiterate, the expectations here for earnings is $2.27, according to Seeking Alpha. $53.16 billion in revenue is also what's expected. And so you have a lot of downgrades on this. I don't know. I think that we could be in for a decent move up, and you can see that Microsoft is already starting to make its move towards the end of the day. Might not have that same sentiment tomorrow for Tesla's earnings reaction. So make sure you guys are tuning in for that. Would love to hear your guys' opinion on Tesla, maybe even in this stream. But yeah, we check in with some of the comments here. Housekeeping says, glad we're doing this again. Me too, my man. I really want to start to get back into the swing of things. You know, just needed a mental health break from a lot of things, content creation being one of them. You know, everybody kind of goes through it, especially in the YouTube space, and that is burnout. And that's kind of what I felt like I was in. I was in a little bit of a burnout phase, and just kind of was mentally exhausted from YouTube. I've been doing this for 6 years, and I just kind of needed a break. So I appreciate you guys coming back in and showing me the love, showing me the support, and I'm ready to do it again. Ready to run it back. Don Fran from the Don Fran Show. What's up, my man? Has 240 calls for next Friday, so let's go. Don's feeling a bit bullish about Microsoft as well. Tiger's Edge, I think they buy OpenAI in the near future. Interested to see what they say about the partnership in the earnings report. I am too. If you guys didn't catch the news, Microsoft is investing $10 billion for 40% of OpenAI, the ChatGPT platform being a huge part of that, obviously. So that would put the valuation, I believe, around $29 billion, give or take. I think that's probably a bit light. And I think Microsoft actually made a pretty decent deal out of that $10 billion. While it is a lot of money, of course, I think it's going to be money well spent, and they're going to make that money back hand over fist. Excuse me. And so Hand Smello says, I don't chat much, but really miss watching you, man. I miss you guys too. Savvy Money Show, always one of the faithful watchers as well. Mental health is important. Absolutely. And honestly, just taking a mental break just helps me make better content. By the way, I don't know if anybody's paid attention to this. I'm using a green screen, and now you can see that pen is part of that green screen. This is my pen hoodie. It's green lettering, and obviously, I need to do better at my green screen game. I'll get it together, guys. Froggy says, you definitely deserve a break, but we sure miss you when you're not here. Absolutely. I miss you guys too. You guys are the best. You guys are the reason that I'm here, the reason why I get up in the morning and want to keep doing this. So I appreciate all of y'all. 80 of you guys watching in here, which is great considering I haven't been around for a while consistently. So I really appreciate all of you guys showing up and reacting to these earnings. Ralph Vandenhoek, excited for these earnings here as well. Savvy Money says people are saying chat will smash Google earnings, Google search, but Microsoft track record isn't that good with an acquisition. That's a very interesting point. So I said this from the jump that I thought that ChatGPT was going to destroy Google and Google search. I think that they're going to take a major market share out of Google searching. And if you guys haven't checked out the news on that, Alphabet is in the middle of a lawsuit right now with the Department of Justice. 7 or 8 states, I believe, are a part of this as well. And they are going after Alphabet for basically monopolistic practices on their advertising side of things. Their advertising side of the business takes up 30% of the space. That's a lot, and it's very influential. But I don't think that's monopolistic. There's 60% of the rest of the market that's out there that has the ability to do things, such as Facebook and Amazon's getting into the ad space. So there's lots of competition. I think that's kind of BS. Here we go. We're starting to see some movement here. It's 3:59 Eastern time. We're about ready to go into the close, and I will react to these earnings as they come in. So keep an eye on the screen here as we watch for these earnings. Don from the Don Fran Show says Google has their hands in everything. If ChatGPT isn't one of them, they could be in trouble. I think so too, man. I think so too. I think it's certainly going to be interesting to watch, and it could make for a really good video. Wink, wink. Don Fran from the Don Fran Show. I definitely am considering making a video on that as well. Bruce, what's up, my man? Appreciate you, brother. Nino says, what are your thoughts on Tesla moving into earnings? I will be covering Tesla's earnings tomorrow, and I'm actually going to be putting a video out to cover Tesla's expectations and what I think is going to be happening there. I'll put it this way. I think Tesla is probably going to be in trouble in the short term. I'm not sure that these earnings that they're going to come into may not be ones that anybody should certainly get excited about. Let's put it that way. I have a lot of reasons of thinking that way. So we are officially closed. The market is officially closed, and we are awaiting these earnings numbers. I'm just continually refreshing my page for Microsoft. So as those earnings come in, I certainly will be happy to share those with y'all. Nothing just yet, but as soon as they do come in, I will be here for you guys and give you those results. Let me know where you guys are watching from. And as we're awaiting the movement here on Microsoft, I want to bring some ideas that I have for future live streams and for the channel itself. I'll save that for later. It looks like Microsoft might be moving, so stick around for that. Seeing some decent movement. You're watching the 1-minute chart on Microsoft, by the way, so it is not all that crazy to see this a little bit of movement here. All right, now we're popping. Microsoft's moving up here now. Okay. Seeing some decent moves on Microsoft right now. It's up around 3.5% after hours and climbing. We're now up 4% just about. So those earnings must be out, I would imagine. Looks like their revenue came in at 52.7 billion. The estimate was 52.94. That's not surprising. We were expecting them to come under the revenue number, as they actually told us that. They said that revenue was going to be light relatively speaking. $52.7 billion is still a shit ton. Microsoft adjusted earnings per share, $2.20. They actually missed on that as well. $2.30 was the expectation, 228, depending on where you got your information from. According to Seeking Alpha, it was, what was the estimate from Seeking Alpha was 227. So regardless, they missed earnings revenue and they missed on earnings per share as well. Looking to see why the stock could be going up. It is now up 4% after hours and climbing here. Could very well be one of those situations in which, and it's still going 4.5% now, 4.75%. Microsoft is still popping. One of the reasons could be, and I'm just speculating as of right now, that Microsoft released these earnings. Yes, they missed, but everybody knew they were. But is it as bad as what people were expecting? I think the answer is no. But we'll see what else is in this report that has the stock moving up. Again, it's up around 3.5% right now, giving back some of those gains. Let's move this over a little bit. Just going to zoom in so you guys can get a better view of that chart. So again, you're looking at the 1 minute chart here for Microsoft. Viborello, is it Viborello? Viboreo? Scooter Tips. Microsoft is a boner. Yeah, that's definitely a boner candle for Microsoft. It's up 4.25% on earnings that missed. But again, the expectation already was that earnings were going to miss. So stock's still doing pretty well. Don Franz says, hopefully this holds. Yeah, Don said he's got calls in at 340, I believe, for Microsoft. So it's already doing pretty darn good. It's already sitting in the 250s, 253, and still climbing here. Let's get this out of the way. So that lots of green candles in the minutes since this release. If you guys are just tuning in, make sure that you hit that subscribe button. I'm going to be reacting to Tesla's earnings tomorrow after hours in the same fashion. So you're not going to want to miss that. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe, and that notification bell to get notified when I go live. Hopefully YouTube will do the right thing and and notify you guys. Saw a couple of people saying that they didn't today. That's all good. 146 of you guys watching. I certainly appreciate you. Certainly appreciate you. Karem says, welcome to the bull market. Checking in on the poll today. I had mentioned, put in the poll if you guys are participating so far. Lots of you guys are chiming in. I said, do you think that Microsoft is going to set the tone for big tech after these earnings? 76% of you so far said yes, and 9% no, and 15% of you has said that it is not going to change a damn thing. So let's take a look at that. Let's take a look and see how some of these other stocks are reacting. Obviously, Alphabet being one of them that's closely tied with Microsoft and influence on that. So let's take a look at Alphabet real quick. I'm going to pull that chart up as well. Here is your 1 minute chart on Alphabet. This is something interesting worth watching as well. I'm not quite sure. Let's get the extended hours on there. Yeah. So Microsoft is not really moving all that much. It's actually flat right now. Or I'm sorry, Google is flat in response to Microsoft's earnings as it's continuing to pop. Microsoft is still up 4.5%. Pretty decent move for Microsoft. Here's that chart once again. Let's take a look at, see if we can find to see what Facebook is doing. Oh, sorry, Meta is doing. I will never get used to that ever. Let's take a look at that one. It is starting to move a little bit. Let's take a look. Come back into that. Here is Facebook. Meta Platforms is moving up. That is up around 1/3%. So some movement on that, but nothing too crazy. Let's check back in with Microsoft, and it's still climbing. It's now up over 4.5%. Still moving pretty nicely. Still moving pretty nicely on that. If you guys didn't catch the earnings numbers, they actually came in. Microsoft missed on earnings. They came in at $2.20. The expectation was somewhere around $2.28. So missing earnings expectations. They also missed on revenue. They came in at $52.7 billion, missing that by a couple hundred million, I should say. So Still moving up though. This is up almost 5% after hours. This is Microsoft's chart here, so you guys are taking a look at. Let's see if I can find a couple of other things. There's some beats here, and that could be one of the reasons why the stock's moving pretty well. I mentioned at the top of the show talking about Azure. The intelligent cloud revenue came in at 21.51 billion versus the 21.43, so a beat there. Some pretty decent growth in the cloud space. Personal computing revenue came in at 14.24 billion versus the 14.7, so that is a miss. Productivity revenue came in at 17 billion versus the 16.8. That is a beat. So some pretty decent, there's some nuances here. Could be why the stock's starting to move up. As I'd mentioned before, I think it has a lot to do with the fact that maybe investors were expecting something worse than what we're getting, even though they missed. We always talk about this. Guidance is everything. And so we'll take a look at some of the other numbers as they come in. Adjusted earnings per share, as I'd mentioned, came in at 220. So they missed revenue or missed earnings. It looks like. Let me just give this a good old refresh. It's still moving up here. It's up now officially 5% after hours. Let me know what you guys think about these earnings so far. Is there anything in here that's surprising you other than the move up? Would love to get your thoughts. Let's pump this out, break this out to the 5-minute chart. Here's your 5-minute chart, and Microsoft is still going up. It's now up 5.5% and climbing, guys. So the revenue intelligent cloud, as I'd mentioned, was 21.5 billion. Pretty solid beat. That's an 18% growth. That's 18% growth for Microsoft. That is pretty decent. I wonder if that's why the stock is moving, if that's what investors are getting excited about. As I'd mentioned, artificial intelligence has really kind of taken center stage here, as ChatGPT has been just been inundated with their technology, and it caught the attention of Microsoft. And Microsoft invested $10 billion into OpenAI, the parent company to ChatGPT. And that, I think, is going to pay very handsomely to Microsoft in the future. That is an excellent investment, in my opinion. $10 billion is expensive, but for that type of technology, for AI, and for what ChatGPT can do, it is unbelievable. David Moore says, "Screw this rally. Somebody must be salty." Don says, "Am I surprised I'm right?" No, just kidding. I hope I just didn't jinx it. Sid says, "I hope no one is YOLOing their money on earnings." Yeah, of course. We always talk about that here at Own the Chaos. Not to YOLO anything, but hey, listen, sometimes playing earnings is fun, as long as you're doing it with money that you can afford to lose. I don't see anything wrong with it. But Microsoft is absolutely going bananas here, relatively speaking, for Microsoft. For a 5% move there, that's pretty serious. Pretty serious move for that company, for that stock in general. I mean, you don't really see that too often from Microsoft, a 5% move there. Let's take a look at some other stuff. Somebody mentioned Snowflake. I don't really yeah, Snowflake is actually up nicely as well, it looks like. That stock's up 4.25%. So not a whole lot of volume, but it's up. Let's take a look. Here's your Snowflake chart. You can see that that's a pretty solid move for Snowflake. So volume's starting to roll in. Chris McGinnis, this is a very interesting question or comment. Statement. The bears are in denial. Bull market is back. It might be. That's going to be a question that I know that we continue to try to answer in the coming months. Let's check back in with Microsoft, see how that's doing. That is still up around 4.75%. Just moving. Menno says time to short cover. Rabbi says, do you think a world ETF is enough to make a good amount of money until I retire? I am 26 now. Is this Chris? Is this strongman personal finance trying to yank my chain? Rabbi, I think it depends on what you want to do. You know, your own risk tolerance. A world ETF like a VT Vanguard, ETF, it returns around 8% on average every year. I don't know. I don't. Is it a good? Depending on how long you're 26 years old, man, I wouldn't go after VT if I were you. If you're 26, you got a lot of time. If it were me, and I'm not giving you financial advice, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not licensed in any of this shit, right? We just react to things on here, and I give you my thoughts and opinions, and that's just what they are. But if it were me and I was 26 years old, I would not be chasing VT. If you want to put some money in there because you're a little risk averse, sure, why not? But go after SPY, man. Just if you don't want to do anything else and you want to sort of put money away and let it sit and set it and forget it, just put it in the S&P 500. I mean, historically, over the last, I don't know, 50 years, SPY has crushed VT. Don talking about VT. Yeah. I just don't know. I don't know why I would go into VT if I was a 26-year-old. If I was 65 and I was a retirement age, VT would be perfect for me. But not when I'm 26. Just my opinion, just my thoughts. Yes, Tiger's Edge says world ETF when you're 62 instead, bro. 100%. 100%. Man, what I would do if I was 26 and I knew what I know now, right? Especially in the investment world, I'd be sitting pretty. All right. So this is your move here on Microsoft. If you guys are just tuning in, Microsoft actually missed earnings per share and missed on revenue. First time in 26 consecutive quarters that Microsoft has beat earnings and beat revenue. Not going to do it this time around. See, I'm getting conflicting. So EPS of 232. Somebody check me on this. This is the challenge. This is the challenge with going live during earnings. There's always mixed reports. I would love to get your guys' thoughts, or get somebody to check me on this. Don Fran from the Don Fran Show is in the house. Check me on this, Don, because preliminary reports were saying that it was $2.20 was the actual earnings per share, and that was from multiple sources, including the street. Now I'm seeing that Microsoft actually came in at 232. Listen, when I can afford the $20,000 a year to get Bloomberg, it's happening, guys. We won't have this problem right now. It's getting reliable. It's trying to find reliable sources on Twitter. We'll get there though. Got to like, subscribe, and watch this channel for that to happen. VT is the Vanguard Global Trust. Don says I didn't see 232. Yeah, I'm seeing 220 everywhere, but there's a couple of reports now that says that they beat earnings because of their cloud growth at 232. So I just want to confirm that. Yeah, a Market Rebellion has it at $2.20. I'm going to go with that. I don't know where the 232 is coming from. This is for Market Rebellion. And CNBC is also, oh, wait, here, now they're just conflicting. I got to show this to you. This is what I'm dealing with. Market Rebellion, verified account, $2.20 versus $2.27. CNBC now has 232 versus 229. Thank you, Dan. This is what it is. It's the gap versus non-gap. And that's what people are looking at. Yep. Thanks, Danny Level. Appreciate you. So that's what it is. So it looks like they beat earnings per share on the expectation for non-GAAP. So there you have it. Could be why the stock's moving. Well, it is why the stock's moving. All right, let's take a look back at the chart. Stock is still up and doing extremely well. It's up 4.5%. Still rolling. Still rolling. Pretty decent move for Microsoft. Anybody who was in Microsoft? Let me know what you guys. Anybody go long on Microsoft going into these earnings? Who's just a long supporter of Microsoft? Who's been holding it for a long time? Let me know what you guys think. Let's see here. I'm just checking in on some of the other notables on Microsoft. I can pull it up on Stock Titan. Oh, Stock Titan is usually a pretty good one. Stock Titan. There we go. Microsoft. Nope. Not what I'm looking for. Here we go. Nope. That's not it either. Looks like, as I'd mentioned, revenue came in at 52.7 billion. That is a miss, an increase of 2%. Investors were expecting an increase of 3% on that. So that is a miss. I'll just share here. Let me share this. This is the from Microsoft themselves. Yeah, here we go. Diluted earnings per share was $2.20 GAAP and $2.32 non-GAAP, an increase 11 and 6%. Next major wave of computing has been being born. So this is one of their comments about AI. So Microsoft's going all in on AI. Let me just, I'm going to, so you guys can get a better look at this. Change views here a little bit so you guys can see that. There you go. So diluted earnings per share, $2.20 and $2.32 non-GAAP. They quote said that the next major wave of computing is being born as Microsoft Cloud turns into the world's most advanced AI models into a new computing platform. That's from Satya Nadella, the CEO. We are committed to helping our customers use our platforms and tools to do more with less today and innovate for the future in the new era of AI. So that we're focused on operating excellence as we continue to invest to drive growth. Microsoft Cloud revenue was up $27.1 billion, up 22% and 29% in constant currency year over year as our commercial offerings continue to drive value for our customers. That's from Amy Hood, the Chief Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer of Microsoft. So there you have it. There you have it, ladies and gents. So interesting comment here from Unfiltered Currency. It says funny because they laid off team that was focused on AI and augmented reality. I think there was it was a broad layoff. From what I saw, there was actually quite a bit of layoffs in the gaming side of things, Xbox, that side. There was a lot that was of employees that were laid off in that department. So we'll see. But I hear you. Me think they have a future in AI. Yeah, Microsoft ain't messing around with AI, man. They really aren't. I mean, we've heard from Elon Musk and Tesla and how they're getting into AI as well. And I'm sure we'll hear from them tomorrow on that front. But Microsoft ain't messing around. They're pouring money into this. Stock's still back. Stock is up still at 4.5%. If you guys missed those earnings, they came in and it depends on what numbers you're looking at, but they beat earnings at $2.32 from a non-GAAP perspective. The expectation was $2.32, and so that is a pretty decent beat when everybody was expecting poor earnings. They did miss on revenue, and growth came in less than what was expected at 3%. They actually came at 2%. Jeremy, you got it, bro. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hit that like button if you wouldn't mind. Josh R. Powell don't want this market to going up. This is temporary. Very interesting comments. We will be hearing from the Fed next week, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But we will be hearing from the Fed next week, and it could squash a lot of this. Interest rate hikes, of course, crush tech, as we saw all last year. And so we'll see what Powell has to say. Inflation seems to be falling off a cliff, but it doesn't seem to be changing the narrative of the Fed at all. So we see another 25 basis point rate hike from them next week. I think that we could be singing a different tune as far as tech and growth stocks are concerned. I think they're still, I think it's very appropriate, in my opinion, to have that barbell approach between value and tech. I think we're getting really close to the bottom of tech stocks if we haven't seen that already. Obviously, since the first of the year, we've seen a lot of the quote unquote FANG stocks really make some strong moves. Obviously, Microsoft hadn't really participated in that up until now. It's now sitting at nearly 5% in the green here after hours on these earnings reactions. But I'm not going to sit here and disagree with you just yet on the Powell comment. I think that there is some shakiness here. Inflation's still a problem, but I don't think it's been the problem's been solved yet. It is encouraging to see how much inflation has come down since we saw the top back in June or July, but we're not through it yet. People are still paying a shit ton for groceries. Don't get me started on how much eggs are. It's crazy. And energy is still going through the roof. Energy is coming back. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but gas prices are going right back up. There was like $3.39, $3.40 a gallon here in the Charlotte area. Uncultured Currency makes a comment here. Open chat needs to happen for AI. We use, I'm assuming there as a possessive, Halo Lens at work, and that's where I got the message about the layoff in the department because we may not get a future support. Oh, interesting. Okay. Don says inflation falling could be temporary and a second wave after the scarier than raising a little higher in the first place. Maybe, but I think it's going to be more or less the Fed that crushes everybody rather than inflation. Texas Instruments, yeah, they were reporting today too. Let's take a look. I didn't know if anybody was actually interested in Texas Instruments, but I can pull that up as we're chatting about Microsoft. Thanks for hanging out, guys. 173 of you tuning in this afternoon. I gotta say, I'm a little surprised and pleasantly surprised that so many of you are hanging out with me this afternoon. Feels good. Feels good to be back in the saddle. All right. So Texas Instruments. Here's your chart on that. This is your 1 minute chart. Texas Instruments right now is down around. It's just flat. Actually, it's not even. It's up around 0.07%. I can take a look and see what Texas Instruments came in as. Their expectations were $2.03. $2.03 was the expectation there. And it looks like they might have come in light on that. They see Q1 earnings per share $1.64 to $1.90. The consensus was $1.87. So coming in line with that. Q1 revenue $4.17 billion versus 4.53. Consensus was 4.41. So falling in line with that. They actually beat, coming in at $2.02 versus that $2 that was expected. Revenue came in at 4.67 billion, beating the 4.675. So basically in line for Texas Instruments, and the stock is starting to move up a little, but nothing too crazy. I don't know if I would have gone short on that news or on Texas Instruments in general. Checking back in with Microsoft, that stock is still holding steady. It's up around 4% after hours. Michael Hanna says, I'm green on Microsoft after being a year in the red. That's tough stuff, man. Greenville, South Carolina here, says DK England. Nice. Yeah, I'm in Mooresville area, which is just north of Charlotte. Where are my Carolinians at? Uncultured currency chiming back in. I got Discord for eggs. I charge $50 a month. You get the latest news where you can buy cheap eggs. No, man. Listen, I was looking at eggs. I was like, seeing some prices, $8 for a dozen eggs. Are you kidding me? Get out of here. Eggs used to be the cheapest food. Eggs and chicken, and they're both very expensive. You want cheap protein? It's going to be eggs and chicken, and now that's not even cheap anymore. Bodie Beard, that beard. Missed you too, man. Michael Hanna. I don't like the earnings on Microsoft, but green is green. I think what the highlights here is while Microsoft did miss revenue, the earnings came in slightly above expectations. I think investors were expecting a lot worse, and it wasn't, which is one reason why it popped. I think the other reason is that growth in the AI space, 18% in the cloud space is a significant growth in this environment where everybody's talking about slowing of demand. Doesn't seem to be the case in some very important areas for Microsoft. Salesforce can use ChatGPT and fire all salespeople, can they? Is that a question? I don't know, maybe. Salesforce laid off a bunch of people too. Yeah, Snookeroo, I knew you were in NC. Shout out. Checking in on some of the other comments. Matthew's here. I guess that's North Carolina. To be fair, I just moved to North Carolina not that long ago, so I'm not familiar with where Matthews is, but I'm guessing that's in North Carolina, so represent. Dangly Dongle hanging in the Raleigh area. I love Raleigh. Raleigh's awesome. Bodie Beard said eggs at $10 here. That's insane. For eggs. Uncultured. Hey, appreciate that, man. Like to see who's live during earnings. I'm glad I came across you so I don't have to listen to Grifter Meet Kevin. Yes, I have feelings about Meet Kevin. I will keep them to myself because my mama said, you don't have anything nice to say? Don't say it. But I got feelings about Kevin too. So I appreciate that on Culture Currency. Yeah, I actually I took a little bit of a hiatus. I listen, long story short, a lot of life has happened to me in the last 6 months, and I needed a mental health break, but I'm back. And it feels good to be back. Feels good to be back with my people. And it's good that I got some new ones already. So thanks for subscribing. I'll be doing these live streams. I don't do like what Kevin does, but I do like to react to earnings. So especially during earnings season, this is always a busy time for me. So it feels good to be back and just kind of react and see what the hell's going on with these earnings and with the market overall, how it's going to impact everything else. So appreciate you. Eggs are only $5.19. There you go. Valentine's loading the boat on eggs at these prices. It's like it almost kind of feels like the toilet paper saga. Remember when COVID happened and everybody had to have toilet paper and they cleared the shelves? I feel like that's going to happen with eggs, man. Yes, this is also a good point. It's a symptom, but it was, so if you guys haven't caught the real reason why eggs are going through the roof, it is not actually inflation, but it is from a bird flu, and the short supply issue has been an issue for sure. Hopefully they come down. Thanks, Scooter Tips. Appreciate you, my man. Shock City Rocker says, who needs eggs for that price? I'll eat beer instead. It's a little lacking in the protein department, but I like where your head's at. I should have made an egg sandwich and ate it live today. Living large, baby. Look at me and my eggs. This is the status symbol right now. Invest in Costco eggs. Amazon's also up 3%. Yeah, I can take a look at Amazon's chart here. Let's take a look, see where Amazon's at. Yeah, that stock is up. Yeah, it's up 3%. I'll share that. So there you go. There's the Amazon 1 minute chart. Some pretty decent movement. Why? Why is Amazon moving? Well, one of the big reasons it seems as if that Microsoft is moving up is because of their investment in AI and the growth in AI in the cloud space in particular. 18% year-over-year growth, which is not what investors were expecting. They were probably expecting something much lighter. I don't have what the expectation was there, but 18% is still a lot, given that a lot of analysts from the street were expecting a strong slowing. That's not the way I want to say it. A significant slowing in growth in demand, and it seems as if the demand for cloud computing in the cloud space is still very strong. And what does AWS do? They're in the cloud space. They are the big dogs. 40% market share, I believe, is still what Amazon takes up in this space. So that is significant. And obviously, you can see that Amazon's moving up as a result of that. That's up 3%, 3.2% to be exact. Not too far off from where Microsoft is, sitting at up 3.87, almost 4% right now. We saw it as high as around 5%. It's starting to take a little bit of a back seat as volume's lightening up a little bit, but is Apple up? Let's take a look at Apple. Not it is, but not significantly. Not really enough to move the needle. Oops. Checking back in on Microsoft. There's your Microsoft chart. Cloud is sticky big business, says Michael Hanna. Absolutely, I think so too. Up and doing layoffs. Here's the thing about layoffs, guys. I know that layoffs sounds like it's bad news, and it is for those people who work for Microsoft, right? But laying off does a couple of things. The big thing, and actually what sometimes layoffs can do, is actually move stocks up. We saw that with Meta, is free up money on the balance sheet, and that is good for investors. If you're freeing up money on the balance sheet to take that money and put it into other things, people usually like that. So while it might seem kind of contrarian to think that why is the stock up when they're going through layoffs, it's because they're going to use that money towards other things and free up their balance sheet, free up money on their balance sheet. It is costing them $1.2 billion, though, to lay off those 10,000 employees because of all the money that they have to spend for severance. Isn't that crazy? 10,000 employees, $1.2 billion. That means all of those 10,000 employees make an average of around, what, $120,000 a year, give or take? That's nuts. They were doing all right. And now they're going to get severance through March, I believe. They'll be okay. They'll find something. Hopefully. I hope they do. Still sucks to get laid off. Don also chiming in here. Laying off is great for companies unless you're Tesla. Yeah. All right. Great point, Michael Hanna says, if you guys think cloud is the future, then buy semiconductor. I love TSM. And of course, NVIDIA. I got 40% of my 401k in these two companies. Woo! It's a big bet, my man. So real quick, as we wind into the close, yes, I am back on YouTube, Paolo. I'll be back tomorrow for Tesla's earnings, so make sure you're subscribed. Hit that notification bell and tune in for us to be live. I have a couple of things that I'm kind of mulling over as far as ideas for the channel. So I'm back, obviously, and I want to really start to go back in on Own the Chaos hard with you guys, and really try to bring this back to where it was before. Back before Fat Man Zoom, even. We did some really fun stuff here on the Chaos. I would take phone calls. People would take I would take phone calls, and people would chime in with their questions. I thought that was a really fun part of the show. I really kind of am thinking about bringing that back. I just have to figure out a very good way of screening these calls because you just never know. Some crazy person's going to call in and it's going to ruin everything. But maybe it makes it entertaining. We'll see. But would love to bring like phone calls back and a couple of other things. I used to have a where I was right, where I was wrong, and that was pretty fun. We did a lot of cool things before Fat Man Zoom. Unfortunately, had his issues with the brain cancer and stuff, and that's also thrown me for a loop too. So I think that's kind of been part of my mental health, challenges. Just getting back into the swing of things with YouTube and stuff. It's crazy to think that it's been. In 5 days, it'll be a year since Fat Man Zoom's first seizure in our studio. That kind of like sparked so many crazy things for 2022. And so I'm determined to overcome all of that. And so, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And I feel fortunate to have you guys support me, for all of you guys coming back. Thanks so much for that. And so that's going to do it for me. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 3:45 p.m. Eastern time, as I usually do, to cover earnings. So make sure you're hitting that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and guys, enjoy the rest of your night. Look out for that Tesla review video and expectation video tonight, okay? I love every single one of you. Thank you so much for tuning in. You guys are the best. Love you guys. Peace.